when you think about the body, the human body, what is it made up of? Water and carbohydrates and proteins and all the rest of it. You know all the information from your studies. And whether somebody's in Africa, or whether somebody's young, or whether somebody's old, or they're in Asia or South America, the composition of the human body is the same. No difference at all. But the same is true of the inner composition of the being that I am. Which means that when you talk about what it is you love, when you talk about what it is you're afraid of, when you talk about what it is that makes you happy, it will be similar things that we're talking about. And I'm speaking not just off the top of my head, but we did a research project in 1988, and the Philippines took a grand part in that. It was excellent, the contribution from the Philippines. And it ran through till 91, getting responses from the world, from 129 countries. And we asked people 3 questions. What is your vision of a better world? How do you see relationships in that better world? How do you see yourself in that better world? And the responses we got, we hadn't decided what we were looking for. We didn't know what we were looking for. We were interested to know, in a positive direction, what were people's visions. And the beautiful thing was that whether it was somebody in Jordan or somebody in Israel, their visions were similar. Whether it was somebody in Africa or somebody in Asia, very similar. And when we had to then summarize everything, you could summarize all the different visions from hundreds of thousands of people. You could boil it down to one word, and that one word was values. And the values that were being expressed by everyone were the same. The same. And so out of that then came another project called Living Values. Living our values. Values that are alive. It was an innuendo, a double innuendo on that term. Living values. Living a life based on values. And so when I say from a spiritual perspective that every soul has goodness and we share those same 5 values. Can you remember the 5 values? Peace, love. Okay, the essential values, we could do this and have fun with it for an hour, but we won't do that now. But it might be a good game to play at some point. But the essential values that actually make up the human spirit, and it's like the 4 primary colors. And when you mix the primary colors in different percentages with different ones, you can have a whole range of multiplication of colors and many, many different ones. And the same thing with the values. 5 essential core values, and then when you mix them together in different percentages, you've got a whole spectrum of maybe over 300 values that we can think about. But the basic 5, peace, love, truth, joy, and purity, cleanliness. Yeah? And then mix them together. Instead of truth, you could say honesty. And then when you've got all of these together, then you can mix and match and put them. and you've got all the values of humankind. Okay? Just think about how if you're not peaceful, you can't be very loving. If I'm peaceless, I can't express any love. And so first I learn to come back to my original starting point, peace. Then I can express the love, and when there's peace and love, I'm more inclined to be honest and truthful than otherwise. If I'm peaceless, I don't even know if I'm being dishonest, because everything is such chaos inside. When I'm peaceful, then I can. And so there's a sequence. And so the peace, the love, the truth, the joy, and that final one, a total state of cleanliness, purity. So every human being has all of these qualities, but some have been suppressed through our experiences, some are being expressed in a minor way, some are being expressed a lot more. And what I'd like to do is to take up the subject of love for myself. And so let me learn to be, first of all, peaceful, different to passive. And that's why I was sharing this concept of non-reactivity, non-reaction, a considered response. Then I feel comfortable with myself, and I can love myself a little bit more each day. And when I start loving myself, then it's more likely that I can start loving you. And I don't mean you have to go and give each other a hug. Love doesn't have to be expressed in that way. But you're just more respectful. You're kinder. You're more compassionate. You're more caring. These are manifestations of love which are actually more impactful than just giving a hug somebody one moment and then shooting at them the next. And I don't mean physically, I mean verbally. And so, if I'm considerate, it's an act of love. It's an act of kindness too. But to be caring for another, it's an expression of love. And so within our immediate circle, we can do this. Think about, if I really love others, what's going to be going on in my mind? I'm going to be having nothing but good wishes for them. No competition, no jealousy, definitely no conflict, and definitely nothing malevolent, but benevolent. I want good to happen for that individual. And so it starts with that awareness that I am a being of peace, and in my original state of being, I am a being of love. That is my natural state. Just think about it. You walk into a room and you don't have to wait for the walls to tell you stories. You can pick up the vibrations. If two people have been fighting, not physically, verbally, if they're physically fighting, you can see it from a distance and you stay away. But you can feel the tension in the atmosphere. If the conversation that has preceded you hasn't been a very pleasant conversation, you can feel your hairs standing on end as soon as you walk in. And you say, oh, I'm sorry, I must be disturbing you, and you walk out again. You want to stay there, right? But if you walk into a room and people have had a good conversation, a happy conversation, you feel very comfortable to walk in and sit down. And they'll welcome you. You can feel it. And so instead of remembering what you said to me yesterday or the year ago, if I can just see you as that being of peace and love and the goodness that shines within you, my response to you is going to be a very different one. And I'm going to be able to have good wishes for you, good feelings for you. And so starting with the self, do I have good wishes for myself? Or do I have a negative stream of thoughts and conversation going on inside? Oh, nobody loves me, this is why I'm not able to do anything, I'm not really worth anything, I can't do this, I can't do that. And is that what's going on inside? Can I change the quality of the thoughts that are going on within my mind? I can. It's up to me. I can be responsible for what's going on in my own mind. And so let me start having good thoughts, good wishes, good feelings for myself, and then I can have good wishes and good feelings for others. And then in that condition, what's the quality of my words? More likely to be positive, encouraging, uplifting, creating harmony rather than creating division. And so starting with loving the self, I'm able to extend it to others, and I can start to love you. There's one other ingredient I want to mention. I know that in the Philippines most people believe in God. In the UK most people don't believe in God. That's not just anecdotal, but that's been confirmed by surveys. But here people do believe, which actually is a very healthy platform for self-respect and loving the self. Because again, more research on the subject is that people who have faith in the divine are more likely to have higher self-esteem than those who grow up without faith. It's interesting, isn't it? So I would also say that between loving the self and learning to love you comes the subject of my connection with God, the divine, the source, whatever name you choose, but the understanding is that that being is a being of light without any physical form. And so many images across the world have been images of God as light. When people who've gone through the near-death experience have come back and reported their experiences, so it's like they died. The recording machines are all showing a flat line. But 5 minutes later, a bit longer, maybe less, they come back. And they come back transformed. Their experiences, a long tunnel, dark, and through that time they experience all the things that has happened in their life, and it's like everything appears in front of them to make them aware of what they've done. But at the end of the tunnel, it's as if they come into a light that feels alive, not this sort of light, but a light that is alive, a light that is filled with love, unconditional love, non-judgmental love, a light that embraces them and holds them, and they feel that that love is supporting them and helping them. So that light is the light of the divine, I believe. And this has happened with people of every religious background or no religious background. They see light. And so when I understand that that being is a being of light and is the source of all positive attributes, especially light and love, my connection through my mind, focusing my mind on the divine, I'm able to connect to the source of peace, of love, of truth, and I'm able to draw that into myself. And so when I start connecting with the one above, and I draw the power of love within myself, this gives me the ability to love, because it's no loss from me. I'm not spending anything from my pocket, but it's love that's come with abundance, and it's love that can work through me and reach others too. And so the quality of interaction in relationships changes when I'm filled with that experience of pure love. The opposite of fear is love.